long before the sky ever turned gray, long before the first heavy drop of rain ever kissed the dry earth. The world was a very loud place. It was filled with the chaotic noise of busy cities, the harsh sounds of angry voices, and the heavy footsteps of people who had completely forgotten the gentle voice of their creator. The earth was spinning fast, entirely caught up in its own pride and confusion. But in the middle of all that overwhelming noise, there was one man who still knew how to listen to the silence. His name was Noah. Noah didn't walk to the fast, frantic rhythm of the world around him. He walked at a different pesa, slow, steady, and peaceful pace, side by side with God. One day, God spoke to Noah. It wasn't a voice of terrifying thunder that shook the mountains, but a voice of deep, sorrowful love. God shared a heavy truth. The world had become too broken, too filled with shadows, and it needed to be washed clean. A great flood was coming, a storm unlike anything the earth had ever witnessed. But God, in his infinite mercy, did not want an end. He wanted a new beginning. He gave Noah a magnificent, impossible blueprint. He asked this quiet, faithful man to build an ark, a colossal, floating sanctuary, designed to save his family and a remnant of every living creature. God didn't ask Noah to build a warship to fight the waves, nor a sleek sailboat to race across the water. He asked him to build a giant, sturdy chest, a cradle of wood, a place of absolute safety where life could be preserved while the world outside underwent its great cleansing. Building this massive sanctuary was not the work of a few weeks or months. It took decades. Imagine the sheer dedication it takes to wake up every single morning as the sun slowly rises over the horizon, painting the sky in soft pinks and golds, and pick up your heavy tools. Noah and his sons worked under the blazing heat of the summer sun and the crisp, biting winds of winter. They journeyed into the ancient forests to fell towering cypress and gopher-wood trees. If you closed your eyes and stood near the construction site, you wouldn't just hear the rhythmic thud, thud, thud of hammers. You would smell the intense, earthy fragrance of fresh-cut timber. You would feel the rough, sturdy texture of the tree bark under your hands. Every single wooden beam had to be cut perfectly, carried carefully, and locked tightly into place. It was a masterpiece of devotion. To ensure that not a single drop of the chaotic waters could enter their safe haven, God instructed Noah to cover the ark, inside and out, with thick, dark pitch. Imagine the sticky, warm scent of the melting tar as Noah carefully painted it into every crack, every seam, and every joint of the massive wooden walls. As the years passed, the ark grew taller and wider, casting a long, protective shadow over the dry valley. The people passing by would laugh and point, mocking the old man building a giant ship on completely dry land, miles away from any ocean. But Noah never argued back. He simply wiped the sweat from his brow, smiled warmly, and drove another wooden peg into place. His peace could not be shaken by the noise of their doubt, because his heart was anchored in the promise of God. Then, the day finally arrived. The hammering stopped. The heavy tools were gently laid to rest on the grass. The great ark stood entirely finished, a towering monument of faith against the landscape. It was taller than a 3-story building, longer than a grand football field, glowing with a warm, rich amber color under the afternoon sun. But something else was happening. The air itself began to change. The normal, everyday sounds of the valley, the buzzing of the bees, the rustling of the dry leaves seemed to fall completely silent. A strange, heavy stillness dropped over the earth like a thick blanket. If you looked up, the sky was no longer a brilliant, unclouded blue. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the horizon began to bruise. Deep shades of violet, charcoal gray, and dark indigo began to swirl and gather, swallowing the sunlight. The temperature dropped, leaving a cool, tingling crispness on the skin. A new wind began to blow, carrying a scent that the dry earth had not known for a very long time, the deep, metallic, unmistakable smell of approaching rain. Noah stood at the bottom of the massive wooden ramp that led up to the open door of the ark. He took a deep breath of the changing air. He didn't feel panic. He felt a profound, quiet readiness. He looked at his wife, his sons, and their wives. They nodded at each other, their eyes filled with a mixture of awe and absolute trust. The time had come to enter the sanctuary, and then the most breathtaking, miraculous parade in the history of the universe began. Noah didn't have to go out into the wild with ropes or cages. He didn't have to shout or chase a single creature. Guided by the gentle, invisible whisper of the Creator, the animal kingdom simply answered the call. From the thickest, darkest jungles, from the wide-open golden savannas, and from the highest, snow-capped mountains, they came. Imagine standing safely near the ramp and watching them arrive. The ground began to vibrate softly with the heavy, rhythmic padding of giant elephant paws, their long trunks swaying peacefully, their wise, wrinkled eyes perfectly calm. Right beside them, walking in absolute harmony, were the majestic lions, their golden manes, catching the last rays of light. They didn't roar, they simply purred, walking side by side with soft, fluffy white lambs. There was no fear. The natural instincts of the wild were completely quieted by the peace of God. Tall, graceful giraffes lowered their long necks to fit through the great wooden door. Heavy brown bears waddled comfortably up the ramp, followed by tiny, twitching rabbits, slow-moving tortoises, and leaping deer. Above the ark, the darkening sky became a beautiful, swirling canvas of colors. Thousands of birds answered the call. Brilliant blue macaws, elegant white swans, tiny emerald hummingbirds, and wise, wide-eyed owls fluttered down from the clouds, finding their perfect, cozy perches high up in the wooden rafters of the ark. Even the smallest creatures, the buzzing bees, the colorful beetles, and the delicate butterflies found their way inside. It was a silent, beautiful migration of life, seeking refuge from the storm. Noah stood by the door, his heart overflowing with wonder, welcoming each pair into the warm, golden light of their new home. Once, the very last creature was safely tucked into its cozy stall, and Noah's family was gathered in the warm, flickering lantern light of the main hall. It was time. But Noah did not struggle to push the massive, heavy wooden doors shut. The Bible shares a detail so tender and so profound. God himself closed the door of the ark. With a gentle, decisive, and divine motion, the great door was sealed shut. It was the ultimate act of a father protecting his children. Withatseal, the chaotic, broken world outside was completely locked away, and the sanctuary inside was entirely secured. For a few long moments, there was only the sound of peaceful breathing inside the ark, the soft rustling of dry hay, the gentle cooing of the doves, and the quiet sighs of the resting animals. And then it started. Tap. A single, heavy drop of water hit the thick cedar roof. Tap. Tap. Then another. Within moments, the individual drops multiplied into a steady, rhythmic drumming. The windows of heaven were unlatched, and the fountains of the great deep broke open. Outside, the winds began to howl with unbelievable fury, and the waters rose with a terrifying power. But I want you to focus your mind entirely on the inside of the ark. Inside, the experience was a world apart. The thick, pitch-covered gopher would absorb the angry roar of the storm, turning it into a deep, muffled, soothing acoustic hum. The heavy tapping of the rain against the pitched roof didn't bring terror. It brought a natural, mesmerizing lullaby. It sounded like a steady, protective heartbeat. As the waters outside rose higher and higher, covering the valleys and the hills, the massive ship finally felt the lift. With a slow, gentle groan of the ancient wooden beams, the ark was lifted off the ground. It didn't fight the rising waves. It simply surrendered to them and floated. The earth below was entirely swallowed by the deep, but the ark became a floating island of absolute peace. The lions rested their heavy heads on their paws and fell asleep to the rhythm of the rain. The birds tucked their heads under their soft wings, and Noah's family, wrapped in the warmth of the lantern light, closed their eyes. They had no steering wheel, no sails to pull, no map to read. They were simply floating, perfectly safe, completely held in the unshakable hands of the Creator. Let the sound of the rain wash over you now. Feel the safety of the wooden walls. You are completely secure. For 40 days and 40 nights, the rhythm of the rain was the only song the world knew. The water had poured from the heavens in endless, heavy sheets, and the mighty springs of the deep had surged until the highest, most towering mountains were completely swallowed by the dark, rolling waves. But then, a moment arrived that was just as breathtaking as the storm itself. The heavens finally closed. The massive, bruised clouds that had choked the sky slowly began to break apart, and the roaring wind died down to a gentle, quiet breeze. The rain stopped. Suddenly, the ark was enveloped in a deafening, absolute silence. It was a silence so profound that Noah and his family could hear their own heartbeats echoing in the wooden halls. Outside, there was no land, no trees, no shores, only an endless, unimaginable mirror of water stretching to the very edges of the earth. The ark drifted peacefully over a submerged world. But in the midst of this vast, watery desert, the Bible tells us 4 of the most comforting words ever written. But God remembered Noah. God had not forgotten the faithful builder, nor the beautiful, breathing cargo safely tucked inside the wooden sanctuary. Sent a warm, powerful wind to sweep across the global ocean. Slowly, invisibly, the waters began to recede. The great transition had begun. Inside the ark, the animals rested, completely unaware that right beneath the heavy wooden hull, the earth was being shaped and prepared for a brand new dawn. Months passed in quiet, floating isolation. The family of Noah woke up to the same endless horizon of blue water every single morning. But one extraordinary day, the gentle rocking of the ark suddenly stopped. There was a deep, dull thud that vibrated through the massive gopher wood beams, followed by a sturdy stillness. The ark had finally come to rest, hidden deep beneath the receding waves. The towering peaks of the mountains of Ararat had caught the bottom of the great ship like a giant, rocky cradle. They were no longer floating aimlessly. They were anchored to the earth once again. As the weeks rolled on, the water level continued to drop, revealing the jagged, wet tops of the distant mountains. Noah, filled with a bubbling sense of anticipation, walked up to a window he had made at the top of the ark. He opened it, letting the bright, crisp sunlight and the fresh, salt-tinged air rush inside for the first time in nearly a year. He needed a messenger. He needed to know if the world was ready. First, Noah reached out and released a raven. Imagine this magnificent, sleek black bird taking flight against the bright blue sky. With its strong, powerful wings, the raven soared over the waters. It flew back and forth, circling the ark, landing on the wet mountain peaks, surviving on whatever it could find. It was a rugged survivor, but it didn't bring back the message of hope Noah was truly waiting for. The world was still too harsh, too bare, and too wet for the gentle life they longed to resume. Noah knew he had to try a different approach. He waited, and then he reached into the rafters and gently picked up a dove. If the raven was the rugged explorer, the dove was the gentle seeker of peace, with soft, pure white feathers and a fragile frame. The dove represented everything pure and delicate about the life waiting inside the ark. Noah held the small bird in his calloused hands, stepped up to the window, and let her go. Watch her flutter out into the vast, open expanse. She flew bravely over the glassy surface of the receding ocean, her small white wings reflecting the bright sunlight. But the dove's delicate feet found no clean, dry place to land. The valleys were still flooded, and the plains were entirely submerged. Exhausted and having found no home, she turned back. Noah saw the tiny speck of white returning on the horizon. He reached his hand out of the window, gently caught her, and brought her back into the warmth and safety of the ark. It was a lesson in patience. Noah realized that true restoration cannot be rushed. Just as a beautiful garden takes time to bloom, the earth needed time to heal. So, Noah waited 7 more days. 7 long days of looking at the horizon, trusting that the Creator who closed the door would eventually tell them when it was time to open it. When the 7 days had passed, Noah stood at the window once more. He released the gentle white dove back into the bright morning sky. The family gathered around, watching her disappear into the distance, their hearts beating with hopeful anticipation. The day stretched on. Morning turned into afternoon, and afternoon melted into a beautiful, golden evening. The sun began to set, painting the sky in vibrant shades of orange, pink, and soft purple. Just as the first stars began to twinkle, they heard a familiar, fluttering sound. The dove was back, but this time, she was not empty-handed. In her small, delicate beak, she carried a treasure far more valuable than gold or diamonds. It was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Imagine the gasp of joy from Noah's family as they saw it. That tiny, vibrant, green leaf was the absolute proof they had been praying for. It wasn't dead driftwood. It was freshly plucked. It meant that somewhere out there, the floodwaters had retreated enough for trees to sprout. It meant that life was fighting its way back through the soil. That single olive branch became the ultimate symbol of peace, a message from God Himself whispering, "The storm is truly over. The earth is alive again." Noah waited another 7 days and sent the dove out one last time. This time, she flew into the beautiful new world and did not return. She had found her home in the blooming trees. The earth was finally ready. Then came the command that Noah had waited over a year to hear. God spoke, "Come out of the ark, you and your wife, and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you." Noah removed the covering of the ark, and the heavy wooden doors were finally lowered. The ramp hit the dry ground with a solid, satisfying thud. Imagine the sheer explosion of joy. The animals bounded out into the sunlight. Beautiful horses galloped wildly across the fresh, emerald green grass, kicking up their heels in pure delight. The majestic lions let out a mighty, joyful roar that echoed through the valleys. The giant elephants sprayed water from the sparkling new rivers, and the monkeys swung happily into the branches of the newly grown trees. The birds, a swirling tornado of brilliant colors, rushed out of the ark, filling the crisp, fragrant air with a symphony of chirps and songs. The world was impossibly bright, washed entirely clean, and bursting with vibrant energy. Noah and his family stepped onto the solid earth, falling to their knees in overwhelming gratitude. The very first thing Noah did in this brand new world was build an altar, offering thanks to the God who had carried them safely through the deepest, darkest waters. Their hearts were overflowing with love. As the smoke from Noah's thankful offering rose peacefully into the clear blue sky, God decided to sign His masterpiece. He spoke to Noah and to every living creature, making a beautiful, eternal covenant. He promised that never again would the waters become a flood to destroy all life. And to seal this promise, God painted the sky. Across the vast, open canvas of the heavens, a brilliant, glowing arch of light appeared. It was the very first rainbow. Vibrant ribbons of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet stretched from one end of the earth to the other, shimmering with divine majesty. It was a bridge of light, connecting the heart of the Creator to the hearts of humanity. God said, "Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant." Every time you look up today and see those brilliant colors breaking through a dark, rainy sky, remember this amazing journey. Remember the sturdy ark, the gentle dove, and the faithful builder. It is God's colorful reminder that storms do not last forever. No matter how deep the waters get, there is always an olive branch waiting, and there is always a promise of a bright, beautiful new dawn. The world had been washed clean, and the story of grace was just beginning.